every time Chris Broussard.
Should I keep that between us just in case someone else?
No. They can see it. Listen, everyone else is tied.
You don't feel the same way?
Of course I feel the same way, but I'm sure as hell not going to tell anyone else.
It's great to see you, my friend.
We love having you. We got a big Tuesday show for you today. We got to start with the capper to Week 14 in the NFL. They call it Monday Night Football. Here we go. Carson Wentz and the Philadelphia Eagles hosting Eli Manning and the Giants. And the MASH unit for the Eagles continues. Wideout Alshon Jeffrey with a non-contact injury to his foot early on. He'd have to be carted off. Very next drive. Offensive tackle Lane Johnson carted off with an ankle injury. And to make matters worse, the Eagles down 17-3 at the half. Jump to the fourth, under 2 minutes left. Philly down 7. Wentz to Ertz for the 2-yard touchdown. We're tied at 17. Overtime. Guess who? Same connection. Carson Wentz to Zach Ertz. Eagles stay tied with the Cowboys at 6-7 to top the NFC East with the win over the New York Giants. So, Nick, are you more encouraged by the comeback you saw last night from the Eagles, or are you worried about a slew of now new injuries to add to the existing injuries they already had? I'm
not encouraged by the comeback, and my biggest concern for Philadelphia is actually not the injuries. That's not great, and we know Carson Wentz historically, not going to throw a bunch of numbers at you to start the show, but he is this quarterback when Lane Johnson's on the field, no matter who else is there, and he's this quarterback in any situation without Lane Johnson. So Lane Johnson being carted off, obviously a problem. But my biggest concern for Philly is they should be embarrassed by how they played in the first half of this football game after being embarrassed by how they played in the second half of last week's football game against Miami. You got outscored 40-6 over a 60-minute period of football by the Miami Dolphins and the New York Giants. Are you kidding me? And so Philadelphia, yeah, you're right, Jenna. They're tied for the divisional lead, and they were down 14, and they came back. They showed some grit. The drive in overtime was excellent. Giants defense didn't put up much resistance, but the way they ended up driving the field in overtime, even if they had to settle for a field goal, the Giants already would have been up against it clockwise because of the 10-minute overtime period. So I will give them credit for not folding, but if you shouldn't need a wake-up call in Week 13. But they got one from Ryan Fitzpatrick and the Miami Dolphins, and they didn't wake up in Week 14 until the Giants changed their offensive game plan in the second half, stopped taking deep shots down the field, missed a flea flicker that if their left tackle can hold up, the Giants end up winning this football game, I believe, and they still needed a little coin toss luck in OT to be in this position. So I am really discouraged for Philadelphia, not just because of the injuries, but primarily because if you can't show up and just beat a flailing Giants team, then come on, what are we actually talking about other than someone has to win this division?
I'm totally with you. I mean, this was an easy answer because I'm not impressed, encouraged, or anything at all with the comeback. And the injuries are worrisome. Look, I understand Alshon Jeffrey, Lane Johnson, those are offensive injuries. You're already without, a couple of your top receivers, Aguilar, Deshaun Jackson. But that doesn't explain how you let a Giants team averaging 19 points a game score 17 in the first half. That doesn't explain your poor defense. They had so many reasons to come out and destroy the Giants. Number one, you're at home. Number two, the Giants are 2-10, 1-5 on the road, or entering that game they were. Number three, they're starting a 38-year-old quarterback who hasn't played since week 2 and was 8-25 over the last 3 years as a starter. Number four, as you said, coming off 3 losses straight and then a horrible performance against Miami. Number four, you're in the dogfight for your division. You're playing to make the playoffs. You have every reason to play well, and the Giants had very little reason. I know they got a little boost by Eli's presence, but still, the Eagles look horrible. That game last night just convinced me more so, not that they're a great team either, but that the Dallas Cowboys will win that division. Week in and week out, we are looking for a team to pick in the NFC East to say, finally, someone's going to jump out ahead and actually take hold of this division, albeit as weak as it is. We thought it could be the Eagles. Neither team in this division seems to want to take a stranglehold and just run away with it. I don't feel any differently about the Eagles now in this division than I did before this game, even though they won. You shouldn't. And there's a great, it's one of an old viral video of these two old men
men fighting outside of a nursing home, and they both, like, one's hitting him with his cane and he falls down, the other tries to get up, he falls down. That's the Cowboys and Eagles for the NFC East. Like, someone's gonna win it, but it's not gonna be because of their own brilliance or their own excellence. And I've said before, I think one of the smartest things the NFL ever did was go to 8 divisions, 4 teams per division, keep the fact that if you win your division, you get into the playoffs. I would never change that. And some years that does mean a team will miss the playoffs with a better record than a division winner. But with unbalanced schedules, I like that they have division winners are locked into the playoffs. But we are in a situation this year where you could have a 7 or 8 win NFC East champion hosting a 12 or 13 win. It could be the 13-3 San Francisco 49ers, in theory, at the 7-9 Dallas Cowboys or Philadelphia Eagles. And I say that to say this: you should make the playoffs if you win your division. The NFL should strongly consider, once you have your 6 playoff teams, 4 division winners, 2 wild cards, doing a true seeding. Because the division winner of the NFC East deserves to be in the playoffs. They have no business hosting a playoff game against a legitimately excellent Seattle or San Francisco team. We got more evidence of that last night, and that is what's going to happen here in a few weeks.
I understand totally where you're coming from, but I think over time, just like bad calls, these things even out. It'll happen every blue moon that you've got this type of situation. And the bottom line is, if Seattle or San Francisco or whoever the wild card team is that good, that legitimate, then you go into Dallas and beat. And I say Dallas because I think it's going to be Dallas. I could see Philadelphia. I don't think they'll beat the Cowboys. Cowboys have beaten them, what, 5 straight times?
Well, they've never lost when Zeke and Dak both play.
Okay, so I think Dallas will beat them. But if by chance Philadelphia were to beat the Cowboys, I could see them losing one of their other games.
Yeah,
I mean, they're that bad, and I do feel differently, Jenna, about them. I wasn't impressed before last night's game, but I feel even worse about the Philadelphia Eagles after what I saw last night than I did going into the game.
I mean, is it too late for us to say, okay, they're going to be able to right the ship? They're going to be able to be the Eagles that they were. Every week we keep saying
that team never existed.
It never existed, and now the injuries just compound that.
That team, the team we were asking the Eagles to be, it's not even like we were pulling on something from last season. We were going into this season, myself included, by the way. I had them as the 2 seed. I had them with 12 wins.
going to the Super Bowl.
Was a team that actually has existed once, and it was the midpoint of 2 years ago. But pre-Carson Wentz injury, that was the team that we thought was going to manifest itself. Not the team that won the Super Bowl, because that was a Nick Foles banged-up team. Not the team we saw last year, because that was underachieving all year. A team that we saw 2 years ago that honestly ended around 2 years ago this week when Carson Wentz dove into the end zone against the Rams and got his leg messed up. Like, that Philadelphia